As I mentioned to you earlier today, that this Minnetonka location was voted by IAPA, FEC of the World, 2018. Didn't happen by accident, for sure.
How do you get there without go-karts?
Always a question, right? Always a question. You know, it's interesting. We're going to, after we dine, you're going to have an opportunity to walk through the facility and get a feel for how this might differ from the Oakdale facility that we were just at. But I've asked Barry to share with us really the journey that he has gone through to build this brand in the Minneapolis corridor, because this is not something that was easy to accomplish. There's a lot of competition in this marketplace, and ultimately it took a lot of time and process to make this happen. So I'm hoping you can share a little bit with how you put it all together.
I'll be brief because food will be here shortly. So, and appreciate the long drive you had to go through. I don't know why they picked rush hour to bring you across town, but I apologize for that. Just to throw you back, when I started, so I used to be actually in the Halloween business. I mean, I don't know, it's probably 20 years ago now. And, once that attraction mode gets in your blood, you kind of, it's hard to walk away from. And I got into a whole other world, ended up in the fast food business, working with a franchisee that did Taco Bell and Pizza Hut. And I'd been in that business for a long time, and the marketing, I was doing marketing, and that all went national. So locally, there wasn't as much to do, and I was missing the creative activities. So back in 2010, I started to say, hey, I might want to get back in that attraction business. I thought I'd start something small, little indoor mini golf course or something, because being in the outside Halloween business in October in Minnesota, you never want to be outside without a roof. So going through that process, I was fortunate I was traveling a lot, so I just started visiting locations, and through my journey met a lot of great people. And one of the reasons I'm here today sharing is because there were so many people that shared with me when I started. And I would, even though I was in the attraction business, I was not in the FEC business. So I did, there were some people that were, that sold attractions in that market. I mean, back when I was doing it, there wasn't trade shows like this. There was had like an aisle of Halloween stuff in the day. I mean, there just wasn't anything like it back then. So I, started to meet people and go visit, which I'm sure if you're in this or new getting in, and you're doing a lot of that, you're going to look at other cities. You learn a lot. I think my attraction list when I started, as I started to see I wanted to get larger, was completely different from where I ended up here today. And it was mainly, you hear what's great, but then when you go to a place and you see no one playing it, then you say, okay, is that really the right thing? And then you start talking to people and understanding the nuances. And as you've, I'm sure, learned from Darrel in operations at our other location, I mean, there's a lot of things go in. It's not just plugging it in and you walk away, and it between the maintenance and the upkeep and, well, this facility is 5 years old, and we put a lot of pride to keep it, looking new, and I'm sure you've been to plenty of places that don't. And it's important for us when we started to try to make sure that we had a look and a feel and a brand to separate ourselves. And so when we started looking, again, much smaller places, as it decided to go bigger and started looking around, we thought our niche was indoor-outdoor. It was very important, especially in this market, because in the summer people want to be outside. So how do that was our differentiator. Well, finding an empty big box is relatively easy. Finding an empty big box with outdoor is not so easy. So there's a lot of process, finding places, and this was a Kmart, this building, and it was empty for many years. And there's two reasons that something's empty for a long time. One, it's because the whole market has moved, or two, it's because a landlord is impossible to deal with. This happened, unfortunately, to be the latter. so it was a very long negotiation to get where we are today. And I mean, as much as I give him a hard time, he took a chance. I had a piece of paper. This was an idea. It was me talking and going around. And when I started, like I said, no history with this type of business to that degree. Foundations was one of the first places we went. I-Class was 2010, and to actually have foundations here is kind of a surreal thing for me, because to start there and have you guys come here is kind of cool. I went to the Chicago one, and again met a lot of the people that are in this room, at that deal, and Jerry and I, connected there, and he's been working with us ever since. And there's a lot of valuable information, but as you go in. And Betson's a good person. My friend Kyle at Betson, and he went back to my Halloween industry, which is how I knew him. You go, I mean, I know John works in it and knows him. When I went, the only arcade games I've ever bought were ones that I liked. Don't ever do that, okay? Not a good idea. make sure that you listen to the consultants have a lot of knowledge. They look at a lot of different things. I mean, you still have to go with your gut and your passion and know what's important, but take advantage of the knowledge. I mean, if you're going in, I mean, the first thing we do when we found this place, even though we thought, look, it's got tall ceilings, it's got the room, this is perfect. We did a feasibility study because you don't know what the market is until you start to look at it. And I mean, it depends, if I've got a bowling alley down the street, putting bowling right next to it may not be the right thing to do. You can do it, but it might be easier ways to go about it, such as go-karts. so I mean, you have the opportunity, like with anything, to put, different things within a market. So take advantage of that. There's a lot of interesting things. And I mean, if you went to Oakdale, you saw axe throwing. I mean, and I'll say escape rooms before when we put escape rooms. I think we were probably one of the first people to put escape rooms in, and that was back in 2014. I mean, nobody knew what an escape room was in our industry then. And my staff was completely against it. Like, why would we want to sit in a room for an hour locked in with people, especially some you don't know. But we looked at, I spent a lot of time looking at other industries, not just ours, to find things that may fit. It took a year for me to convince my wife to put in axes. I mean, she went with me to look at a place in Ohio just for the sole purpose of making sure I didn't do it. And so, but if you go there and you experience it, you can help and you see how it fits, I'm assuming you got to see it. I mean, you'd have to try to hurt yourself in our axe room to really, big deal. But it's a different. Did you? Oh, great. There's always one. She's still here, so it wasn't fatal. So I guess that's the point.
You're missing a member of staff now.
But I mean, the point is that it's not just in our industry, but it's important to look outside too, because again, anybody can take a box like this, and if there's one across the street, they can buy the same things that I'm buying and put it in across the street. So it's not just the attractions, it's the people, it's how you operate, it's how the place looks, it's how you treat your guests. I mean, there's a million things, and obviously you've got the walk-in traffic you want to get, but it's also the event business. And to have memorable events, creating memories for people, it's that whole package. What's going to differentiate you? Why should someone pick you versus someone else? And again, like I said, every day there's another attraction opening, or there's a new twist on what we're doing, or there's a different approach, but that's not just today, that's been forever. So I mean, to last, just like, the large amusement park, they change attractions, they put in new things. You can't just sit. I mean, most bowling alleys you've seen, I mean, they're expanding, they're adding, multiple attractions now, because the bowling center on its own, unless you upgrade it to like a Pinstripes or a mini version of Punch Bowl Social, which I think you're seeing tomorrow. That's a little nuance of that. If you're not creating something different or a different experience, it's hard to keep people coming back, and especially if you don't keep it up. My journey was, like I said, it took a long time to get, and when we opened this one, taking a Kmart into this brand, it was, to see something go from a piece of paper to reality, I can't tell you, there's nothing like that experience. And it is not an easy journey. I mean, those who've done it in this room know it. Those who've helped others do it in this room know it. Those who help others do it again know it. It doesn't get any easier. But if you're, so you gotta be passionate about it, and you have to really, you really want to get into it and understand it. And like I said, this is one great thing I've learned about this industry is there are a lot of great people willing to share. I mean, they'll open their doors, they'll take you around. I mean, they want you to succeed. I mean, because if you succeed, everybody succeeds. It doesn't help if someone doesn't do well. And and like I said, I've made it a commitment to get involved in this community because there were people there that helped me when I started. And I mean, I think Jerry knows firsthand. I mean, I can't tell you how many people have come through our facility to see what we've done, or we've shared information or passed on stuff, and people that I've met there have, stayed in touch with me, and everyone has a different spin. They'll come see this, and they'll maybe look at it a different way, and then I'll see what they did, and then I'll make another difference on that. So it's growing, and it's different, but it is a fun business. I mean, at the end of the day, we are in the business of fun and creating memories, and there's again, having been there early on in a different form of entertainment and coming back into it, it's hard to get it out of your system once you're into it. So I'm like I said, I'm here tonight to help and answer questions, and we'll give you a tour after you eat. Again, hopefully you enjoy the facility, and certainly, again, feedback. I love feedback, good, bad, or indifferent, things that you see, and we're always trying to improve. And as you've learned from anyone who's up and operating and has Facebook, you're going to learn every day whether you like it or not. so just be honest and be truthful, and again, you'll never please everybody no matter how hard you try. Find your niche, stick with it, grow, and whenever you get a chance, as my kids know, our itinerary, no matter what it is, we're pulling off a road to see a family entertainment center as we go on a trip. Even today when they're out of school and and at it. So again, hopefully you'll enjoy tonight. And again, I'll be here all night if you have questions or anything along those lines.